What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of tickers. I want to talk about the PPI report that just came out and why the numbers are not that great, despite that the market's still kind of flat. So I want to talk about some very important details. I'm also going to talk about some big earnings that just came out, but just know that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. Anyways, when it comes to the market right now, we're quite flat. Just know that for today, we just got some important PPI numbers. PPI month over month was at, and this is for all items, at 0.2% aligned with expectations, so not bad. Core PPI month over month was at 0.3% aligned with expectations, not bad as well. Initial jobless claims was at 217,000, very, kind of close to expectations, not too bad. However, two things were a little bit elevated. So we had core PPI year over year. So on a year over year basis, it was at 3.1%, somewhat above expectations between 2.8 and 3%. So this was above what we were expecting just slightly. And then PPI year over year for all items was at 2.4%, above the 2.2 and 2.3% targets. So that is once again a little bit hot. So on a year over year basis, PPI was a little bit above expectations on the core side and all items side, just somewhat above that. And besides that, I would say that everything else was aligned with expectations. That's the reason why the market's kind of flat. So the market's very flat, not really doing much as a result of that. It did see a small dip only to get bought back up. Now, despite that, we do have another catalyst. We have the big guy, Jerome Powell, giving a speech at 3 p.m. We'll see if he causes the market to pump or not, so we'll have to give that more time. But that's going to be the next major catalyst for us coming out. We also had Disney announcing its earnings. The share price is up quite a bit because we had good earnings. EPS was at $1.14 adjusted above expectations. Revenue was at $22.57 billion above expectations. Net income increased quite a bit by about $460 million or about 25 cents per share, which is not bad. And then we also saw operating income up 23%. So I just want to call out the fact that they were the first film studio to cross $4 billion globally in 2024. And on top of that, they have some very, very big releases. I also want to call out that their streaming bundle did relatively well. However, ESPN was not as great for them. It was kind of flat in terms of its sales. Despite that, the full year profit in the entertainment streaming business, which excludes ESPN Plus, is expected to see roughly $875 million of an increase compared to the prior fiscal year, which is once again showing double-digit growth, which is above expectations. So nice increase in revenue, nice growth overall, and nice outlooks. That's why Disney's in the green. Great job, Disney. Anyways, going back to earnings, not earnings, the charts. Excuse me, guys. Going back to the charts. I just want to say that right now things are pretty flat. SPY still range bound between 599 and then 595. We have critical support at 595 at our 20 EMA, so we'll have to see if that holds. I presume we're going to be looking for a small dip upon open to about 596.5, and maybe we bounce off that. And as of right now, we're just range bound, so we'll have to see which way we break to make a bigger move. We're still waiting for the big guy, Jerome Powell, to give a speech. That's going to be another big catalyst. For ES, we're barely holding 6,009. We look at resistance at 6,035, and our main support's all the way down here around just under 6,000. I presume we're going to be dipping back down to 6,000, maybe a little bit below that before we try to bounce again. But overall, we're just range bound, so give this the time it needs. We remain range bound, so I think that we could be dipping back down to about 6,000, maybe a little bit below that, and we just are going to remain stuck within this range as time goes on. So keep that in mind, guys. That's most likely what we're going to be seeing. As far as Nvda goes, Nvda could be dipping lower all the way back down towards 146.5, not to mention these lower levels down here. It's like the 145 area. If that fails us, we have this resistance to watch for around 150. So I presume we're going to be looking for a small dip on Nvda. It's about 146.5. We'll have to see if that holds. If not, we could be coming back down to 144. So we'll see how well it ends up holding there. I think there might be a small dip on Nvda, and we'll have to see if it bounces off that support. There's a chip disruption, which is why it's a little bit lackluster. As far as Bitcoin goes, we're going to be looking for a small dip as well. I would say closer to 90,000 before it tries to bounce again, but it's just very, very minor. Tesla's looking a little bit lackluster because we're getting so many negative headlines about the Cybertruck. I'm seeing this all over the news. It's having a recall, it's recalled, this and that. All this criticism. I think that's a little bit more negative news, not to mention the fact that Tesla was due for a pullback after so much upside. So we're going to be looking at critical support at 322, the 20 EMA. If we lose 322, the 20 EMA, we're going to be dipping back down to 315, followed by the 310 area. If we hold that, we're going to be looking for the main resistance to be watching for at 330 and then 334 above that, not to mention 340. I presume we're going to be looking for 322, and we'll have to see if we bounce or not, but look for a little bit more downside on Tesla to 322. We'll see if we bounce or not. Off of that, it's going to be critical support. NQ could be dipping down to about 21,100 flats. If that fails, we're looking for 21,050, and we have resistance at 21,200, so watch those levels. QQQ might be dipping closer to about 510. We're range bound between 510 and 515, so just keep that in mind. For Apple, it's just range bound. We have resistance around the 225s. We have this main support down here at 223. I think we might be dipping back down to 223 before it tries to bounce again, being stuck in the middle. So give this the time that it needs, as it's going to be very, very critical. For the IWM Russell 2000, we have resistance to watch for at 236, and we have this main support to be watching for down here around this 233 area. So I presume we're going to be dipping back down to about 233 as the most likely case for the IWM if we don't hold above 235. So it's looking a little bit weaker. For coin, we are looking weaker as well. We have to hold 288. Otherwise, there's a risk of it coming down to fill this gap around 271. So just keep that in mind. Amazon has resistance at 216. We got to try to hold above that. We could retest 214. If it does not hold, we're looking for 212. And we'll see if we bounce off one of those levels. I still think Amazon's doing a good job at holding up. It should bounce off either 214 or 212. We look more bearish on Meta. I'd see risk of us coming down to this imbalance towards 572 if we don't hold above 575. And we have to break past 581 to turn bullish. I think it might dip a little bit. Microsoft may be dipping back down to about 422. And then last but not least, Google. It's a little bit weaker. We're barely holding 180. If that does not hold, we're looking for 178. This is what's slowing tech down. With that being said, guys, I want to make this video kind of quick. So I thank you all so much for your attentions. The market's in a very, very critical place right now as we're starting to see a big shift for the time being. But just know this, yes, the market might dip just a little bit. Okay, that's completely normal, completely fine. But we're not officially super bearish or anything like that because we haven't lost critical support yet, right? ES, the QQQ, SPY, these things have not lost critical support yet. So there is still some hope that they will try to hold it. So we'll just have to wait and see. Do not forget, we have the big guy, Jerome Powell, giving a speech at 3 p.m. This could be the next catalyst. This could be a make or break for the market, so we have to be very, very patient. But with the market cooling off, let me say one more thing. This is just a very, very temporary cool off. I'm still bullish for the end of the year. I think we're going to be breaking all-time highs again. But for the time being, the market's getting a very, very healthy little dip so far. Could dip even more. We'll have to see the full extent of this dip depending on what the big guy says and also depending on how the other catalysts go. So that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back hopefully in just a couple of hours to give you guys another update. I wish the best for everyone, so watch your levels very closely. And just know for now, the market remains more range bound, despite the fact that we might dip just a little bit after we open. All right, so thank you for listening. Market should open in about 10 minutes from now or just 5 minutes by the time this video is uploaded. Until I see you guys again, have a great day and peace out.